So you figured out that food stamps aren't just for people who are without jobs, they're for people who are also working but underpaid. A lot of these people might have a kid at home, only work part-time. Some people are working full-time but at a lower salary or have many kids, and using the argument that people shouldn't be on it when they have jobs just feeds more into that libertarian kind of let's do away with the programs mentality and just let the businesses take care of everything. Yeah, I'm annoyed with everyone's take on food stamps. Look, I've been on food stamps. I've experienced the food desert through disability. I've run small businesses with workers who were needing food stamps for additional income. And I've studied economics, so I can tell you the purpose of food stamps and how important they are as well. When we increase the minimum wage, it doesn't relate to a direct proportionate decrease in food stamps, nor would it replace proportionally the food stamps. What would happen is that big businesses would easily be able to make up the difference in the income and pay the workers enough. Those big businesses would survive. But small businesses and new hustles that turn into businesses, they would fail more often because they can't keep up with the competition for workers as well as the big corporations. In a world that empowers the corporations in every way, more of these infighting little things just make it harder for small business and workers to actually find work and create. People are talking about food stamps like they're a bad thing, like it's bad for a person to be on it or for some business to have workers that are on it. I'm suggesting is that every employee in every business should be on food stamps, meaning we should make it available to everyone. We need to take away the red tape and the stigma around food stamps. People often end up in between jobs, they lose jobs, they move, they have family that helps a little bit here and there. And trying to figure out who gets how much of the food stamps, it's just so much red tape and it's just so much extra bureaucratic mess. Food stamps should just be available for everyone. In a highly automated world with lots of robotics and machinery, food shouldn't be food shouldn't be scarce. It is abundant. It's too abundant. So much so that we're feeding most of our food back to animals to feed us back again, way more than we ever would have naturally in the history of mankind. We could easily cover the cost of food stamps with the subsidies we already give to animal agriculture, which is an unnecessary product for most people. So if we expand food stamps for everyone, it would have to only be for fresh produce, grains, pulses like beans and legumes, but not for meat and not for processed junk foods. People can still go get those on their own, but it's not part of a universal food stamp package. And we can easily pay for that if we just remove the subsidies we already pay towards animal agriculture. Now, most people are responsible with their money. They know how to budget throughout the month and make sure they have enough food to last them through the month. But some people don't. And the food stamps they do get, they use in a way that isn't nutritionally adequate. There's a lot of distractions in our economy, and having government programs that make sure that the basic needs are covered before people go off and spend on other things is important and it's helpful. You may not need that advice. You may not need that restriction to say, okay, this amount of money is already put aside for food and basic foods and necessities. But we know we have to do this with Social Security. People can't naturally save for retirement when the prices that get charged for things are based on how much we're able to spend. And if we don't forcefully put aside some of that money for retirement, the prices will just kind of siphon and take all of it, and there won't be anything left for our retirements, at least not for the lower half or so of people. So this forced retirement, Social Security and Medicare saves people's money for them when they're retired. And having a basic food stamp system that does the same isn't that far of a reach. In fact, it'll reduce a lot of our social costs and a lot of the administrative bureaucracy that eats up the cost of the programs. I think this would simplify the system and it would protect us all uh, and remove the stigma from who applies and why and when. And I want to say this to the entrepreneurs. Don't be scared to start a business knowing that you don't have enough capital to pay everyone for all their needs to be met through that alone. In our economy, many people, almost everyone relies on other people, and the corporations are already doing that as well. You can't suddenly change the system with one little tiny business. You have to abide by the rules that exist around you, and the prices at which people are willing to pay, and the wages that you can actually afford to pay without going under. And people need to lay off the small businesses and the new entrepreneurs and just the people who have an idea and trying to do something as if they're this oppressive corporate system that's doing all this, as if they're the ones that are voting for laws and suppressing labor just for their own gain. These are people who've worked their whole lives and been in the system and are just participating in the system as it continues, trying to create jobs, because small businesses do create jobs where corporations are more likely to reduce, not reduce, but they're stagnating with labor while earning more. And small businesses aren't. Most small businesses go out of business. They don't end up earning much out of it. They just end up creating a ton of jobs in the process as they fail. That's what most of entrepreneurship is. So don't be scared to go out and take a risk and do that. We need to keep doing that. We can't just bow down and all just say, it's the corporation's responsibility for everything. We got to start taking our power back and empowering. Even with my robot tax labor defense project, which will provide enough income for everyone to not be on food stamps, I would still recommend a universal food stamp package program, because there will still be red tape. It's just overall still more efficient, and it's just a better way to do that. We need many different measures to keep corporations from being able to siphon up all the wealth that happens in a highly automated tech world of data that knows us too well, better than we know ourselves and our spending habits and what we'll sacrifice. If we don't want to see food prices inflate when wages all go up, then we need to expand the food stamp program, not do away with it or not make it more of a stigma. Socialize basic food necessities.